Welcome to Watch with Mike. Today I'd like to talk about a watch brand that is under the Swatch Group. It's not Omega, it's Rado. A few months ago, I purchased this Rado Purple Horse watch. This is a three-hand watch with a day and date complication. I've never had a Rado watch. However, I do know that they have a great reputation throughout Europe, and especially they have a strong following in India. I bought this watch and popped it open, and it really needs a good service because, for one thing, the gasket decayed and is all over the moving bits on the inside. Now, one of the things I found fascinating when I started studying the Rado company is that they were pioneers in using alternative materials in their watches. So, for instance, in the 1960s, they started working with ceramic composites for the bodies of their watch. And that's when they released the original Diastar watch. This watch had a sapphire crystal, it had a ceramic-based case, and they advertised it as basically being unscratchable. Almost all of the watches that I've been working on up to this point are made out of some sort of base metal or stainless steel. So, with that information in the back of my mind, I recently had the opportunity to pick up this watch. This is a quartz three-hand watch with a date complication, and this is one of their Diastar watches. I'm guessing it's from probably mid to late 1980s. But here's what I found fascinating, and I'm going to switch to the microscope and explain what I'm seeing, which I find very interesting, and I'd like to share that with you as well. The back of the case is labeled Diastar, and it's a 719 model. I really couldn't find much information about this watch online other than finding maybe two similar watches on eBay. Pay attention to just how scratched up this stainless steel back is. I mean, this thing looks like it was well enjoyed. It looks like it was well worn. And look at all those marks in the stainless steel. So someone definitely enjoyed this watch. Here's what was interesting to me, and this is what primarily caught my attention. Apart from the fact that the lines of this watch resemble a Tesla pickup truck, take a look at this. For as old and battered as this watch is on the back, this crystal is impeccable. So I started wondering, is this possibly a sapphire crystal? And there's these gold panels on the side, and apart from these things being very fingerprinty, look at that. That is relatively unscratched compared to what's going on back here. I wonder if the part of this upper case is their ceramic, their metallic ceramic. I really think it might be. So in the hopes that this is a sapphire crystal and ceramic upper case, I thought that this would be a fun watch to take apart and dig into a little bit more. A closer look at the hands shows that there's some pitting. I am curious about these little stones all around the dial. I don't think that they are real diamonds. They are pretty mucky and pretty dirty. It definitely looks like some kind of crud got inside the case. The hands on this watch do feel pretty good in the setting position. And let's see if we go to the number 1 crown position. The date does turn. And let's see if it flips when we get to midnight. Gonna flip? It wants to flip. Come on. There we go. All right. So here's my plan. I'm going to start by giving the outside of the case a good cleanup. Then we'll open up these screws and see if we can get to the movement and put in a battery. I want to see the condition too, because if a battery has exploded in here, Hey, we can deal with that, but that's definitely a mess that I hope we don't have to clean up. If we can get it running, I'm going to go and give it a more thorough cleanup. It did come with this strap, this bracelet, and this is just not a name bracelet. Well, it's a Spidell, so that is a name, but the gold plating is just about completely worn off of it. So if we can get it running, maybe I'll replace the bracelet. This really doesn't seem like this is worth keeping. So that just gets put aside for now. So next step, we're going to open up the back and we'll take a look at what's going on inside. Wow. Just a simple wipe down with some household cleanser and it's shining up great. Let's try a little bit of isopropyl alcohol here. It's history. This isn't dirt. This is mulch. This is compost. Should just carry this right out to the garden. The screws on this watch back are too big for even my largest watchmaking screwdriver. It just flops around. So I'm going to turn to some of my electronics screwdrivers, which seem to be a little bit better. There we go. It's starting to go. Use my plastic stick. The movement is coming out with the back out of the case. There we go. All right. So what's going on here? So it looks like the movement is set into the back. Is that rust? No, that's just dirt. That's just grime. Is this stuff the remains of a gasket? Yeah, do you see that? That's kind of what happened on my other Rado watch. Oh, what a mess. I want to, well, that might be what's on the little stones that look like diamonds. I want to see if I can get this movement out so I can keep that muck from the melted gasket. I want to try to keep that off of the face of the watch. So there's a groove here, and this almost looks like the type of groove that you would put a watch back case knife in and pop it out. If this back pops off, well, then that would make it easier to change the battery for the jeweler to maintain this watch. And it will also give us access to the back of the movement to see if we can release the stem. Going around the case, and I'm just snow plowing this liquefied gasket out, and it looks like there's a ring in here. Is this thing just floating? Yeah. Look at that. I don't even see how that's mounted in there, but let's get that out. So I'm going to guess that this is just a decorative ring that goes around the movement when the movement's in the case. So let's get this cleaned up, and then we'll return to this piece and continue getting this cleaned up. I took this to the sink and cleaned it in some warm soapy water. And I just came back here and there was more smudge and I started cleaning. Look at this. The crystal started coming off. There it is. It's being held on with... No! It is sliding in. It's held in like a dovetail. This will really let me clean it. Wow. Okay. And there is the source of our goo. Yeah, no wonder it seemed like it just kept coming and coming. Who knew? Sometimes due to clever engineering and good workmanship. The seams are so close that you can't tell things come apart. But look at that. That's beautiful. Like, that's just in really, really nice shape. A couple little marks, but totally serviceable. There's a good look at the case. Interesting engineering. I must have just spent a half an hour cleaning this case, and it's much, much better. It really made a huge difference when the crystal slid out, and I was able to get off the melted gasket with isopropyl alcohol. Now, let's see, do I have that correct? Yeah, I want to line that up. So now I can drop the movement and the back into this case, and it will keep it from damaging the face and the hands. So it's acting as a little movement holder. I ran a bead of isopropyl alcohol all around the outside rim, thinking maybe this back came off. And look at this. Good news. I just got that started, and the back is off. There we are. And look at that. We have a whole litany of marks in there. I wish there was a standard code for when watchmakers leave their marks. We got the back off. Wahoo! There's another gasket in there for us to deal with at another time. ETA-ESA, and it says 951111. Hey, this has a Swiss V8. I wonder if it would play nice with my American V8. Well, hey, as long as we're here, let's see if we can change the battery. Get a little lump of Rodico. Let's see our battery. Hey, look at that. The bin is clean. 1V9P. SR726SW. I don't have an SR726, but I do have an SR721, and we can use this. When you're trying another battery, you want to make sure the voltage is the same. That's 1.55 volts. The 7 means the diameter is actually 7.9 millimeters, and the 2.6 is a thickness of 2.6 millimeters. I don't have that 726 battery, but what I do have is this bunch of 721 batteries. So 721, that's the same. This battery, the 721, is 2.1, so it's a 0.5 millimeter difference in thickness. So we can put this in there. We might just have to press down a little bit on the spring that makes contact. The diameter is perfect. I was pretty sure that the little arm, what is going on there? That little clip got bent. Okay, let's give that a try. There we go. Thicker battery will make better contact. We had to do that just to find out if the watch was running. And it is. Good. Then the project continues. Let's take the movement out of the case in anticipation of maybe doing a little bit more aggressive teardown. Let's align those hands. What do you say? We're going to do that, so if we need to remove the hands. All right, that's close enough. Right there, do you see that button? That's going to let us take the movement out of the case. Let's see if I can do it from the setting position. Yes, I can. And let's take a look down into the crown. Any surprises? That should come off in the ultrasonic. Come now. Nope, that's stuck. We'll get back to him. He'll probably just fall out when we take out the other clip. So it looks like it goes out forward. So now here's the pieces. So this is the case that I suspect might be ceramic. Here's the back piece. Let's pop the hands in the dial. We'll protect it with a little bit of plastic. Use these little pry tools. Slip it under and draw them up. And the stack comes off. Do we have all three? 1, 2. Yeah, sometimes they can stick to the plastic. There he is. And we're going to put them in this little box. We'll just put these aside. How's the dial being held on? There we go. Hey, look at that. How's the back of the dial look? Let's take a little quick look. S-I-N, sin and sing. Two of my favorite things. Is there any other worldly advice that we should heed on the back of this dial? I wonder if, let's see if any light will come through. Just out of curiosity, is there crap on the back of the stones? And if there is, might that improve the clarity? On rhinestones, sometimes there's a metallic backing that is behind the stones to make them reflective. So I'm just going to take a toothpick with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on here. I just want to see if this is dirt. Yeah, I just think there's muck in there. So can we put this in the ultrasonic cleaner? I bet we can. I don't want to do it for too long, but that's painted. That looks pretty good. It just appears to be a brushed brass metal and not finished. I'm going to put him aside and I want to see the movement. Okay, our wheel. And that is the shield for the coil. That's interesting. Does it lift off? Come on now. Oh, I guess that's the other way of removing a part. That one's loose. Let's tighten him back down. So I'm just using the case as a holder. And it is okay to rotate the piece to best align with your tweezers, with your approach. And in this case, since this is sitting in a recess, and 2/3 of that recess are blocked, well, this was a good example of turning it to accommodate what I needed to accommodate. So I think right now what we're looking for is a cosmetic cleanup on this watch. We're at a good place. I'm just going to take the movement now. And I think my next step will be taking the dirty bits to the ultrasonic cleaner. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous. Let's see what's going on with the dial. Does it still have diamonds? Does it still have printing? I hope so. I'm going to take that out. We can let this other stuff keep running. All right, so I have kind of a good news, bad news. The diamonds got really clean and shiny, but isn't that odd? It's like pinstriping tape. That came off. All right, I'm not so worried about that. What I am more bothered about is the lacquer kind of got messed up. So I'm not really sure what to do about that. Not sure what to do. So the writing held up. That's good, right? Yeah, you definitely see it at some angles, not as much at other angles. And I don't know whether this was the heat from drying or the water. All right, well, we will revisit this. While I think about what I'm going to do with the dial, I'm going to use my hobby buffer to polish and buff the case. I'm being aggressive with all of the stainless steel parts and going more gently with the ceramic wings. Overall, it's a huge improvement. I want to get this crystal reinstalled in the case, and it just dovetails in like this. But the problem is it's loose. And I don't know what kind of gasket was designed to go behind this. I assume it was like a flat rubber gasket that was custom cut for this case shape. I don't have a gasket, but I don't want it wobbling around like this, so I'm going to try to make a spacer. I have this, I just call it lighting gel. It's just a thin plastic. I'm hoping to use this as a shim to hold the crystal in more securely. Of course, it won't be waterproof. I get that. I understand that. But I do want something just so I can get this watch back together. And this will at least provide a bit of a membrane between the sapphire crystal and the opening in the case. I need to make a hole in it. So that should give me enough to cut a circle. So we have our little slip-in piece of celluloid that I'm hoping will provide friction to hold in this sapphire crystal. So let me try to get my prints off it best I can. Can we slide this in without crunching our little celluloid shim? The sapphire is so clear, I went to hold down the celluloid by pressing through the hole, but it's not a hole. It's a window. Oh, damn, that's close. I have a little bit of orange sticking out the end. I'll bet you I can razor knife that. There we go. Oh, that is really super close. There we go. Very nice. And so there's no sign of that little gasket until you turn it over. Excellent. Excellent. I just hope that doesn't interfere with the movement going in. But hey, we had to do something, didn't we? We had to figure something out. I want to take a closer look at this dial and see what we can do about the lacquer issue. I'm engaging the feet in the holes of this little platform designed for holding dials flat. And the first thing I want to do is just pick this one area that's away from any ink. So I'm just going to play with that little bit of lacquer to see if there's a thinner that will dissolve it without making a mess. So I'm going to start with isopropyl alcohol. We'll see if that does anything for us. Just pick up a very little bit. And we'll see if rubbing it with a swab can soften the lacquer. Can we kind of mend or feather that little edge right there? I had hoped to be able to selectively remove the lacquer where it was peeling and soften the edges so you wouldn't notice the transition to the areas without the clear coat. At one angle, the dial looked pretty good, but then I'd turn it 90 degrees and the damage was very obvious. I feel like instead of melting, the lacquer was peeling and tearing off. I'm not quite sure what I'm accomplishing, if anything. At this point, I felt like I had very little to lose, so I did a test to see if the isopropyl alcohol would remove the writing on the dial. The word Swiss made didn't seem affected by the alcohol, so I was feeling bold enough to give the entire dial an IPA bath treatment. When it was wet, I was optimistic that the lacquer was being washed away, but as the alcohol dried, I realized that I was no better off. Throwing caution to the wind, I figured that if the ultrasonic cleaner started the problem, the ultrasonic might also be my solution. At first, everything looked like it was going to work out, but just 3 minutes in the cleaner, my Rado had turned into a Fado. Oh man. Yep. See what happens when I poke it with a stick. All right, I'm just going to clean the crap out of it now. I suppose sometimes you don't know what your limitations are until you exceed your limits. I just did. I can't wait to see the comments on this one. You did it now, Mike. You did it now. You just had to get it a little bit cleaner. This isn't the first time I've done it. You think I'd learn. But the beauty is it's mine to learn from. No customers were hurt in the overcleaning of this dial. Hey, do you think the letters are completely off it by now? Let's go take a peek. Come on. So I'm just touching the letters right now. And they seem pretty softened. I think maybe I'll take it out, rub it on a microfiber, and then throw it back in. No more lacquer. No more logo. Is this still a Rado watch, even though it doesn't say Rado anymore? In person, like, it just shines. It looks really good, actually. So I'm going to put this back together. The diamonds are sparkling like crazy right now. What a paradox. The ultrasonic did a beautiful job cleaning the diamonds, but also removed the lacquer and the logos. I cleaned up any remaining traces of lacquer under the microscope with pegwood and Rodico. I'm opening both of the clamps that secure the dial feet. So there should be one on the opposite side. Now the dial posts can slide into the mounting holes and the clips can be clamped down. Make sure we're sitting evenly. We can press that little lock. And there we go. That's 2. The winding stem is temporarily reattached so I can set the date window to midnight and reinstall the hands. There's midnight. The hands are pressed into place. I'll confirm that the hands don't interfere with each other as they turn, and check that the date turns over when the hands are at midnight. There we go. I consider that an acceptable tolerance. I'll hold the second hand with a piece of Rodico as I press it in place with my tweezers. The movement can now be put back into the case. The friction points on the winding stem get a touch of my blue watchmaking grease, and the crown and stem are reinserted into the movement through the crown tube. There we go. Okay, we want positive down. I'll install a new battery and tighten down the clamp that we adjusted earlier in the video. And there it goes. Now the case clamps can be screwed into place, securing the movement in this back part of the case. Tight, tight. Another puff of air. Put our pretty ring back in place. The top of the watch case is now lined up with the bottom and pressed into place. Everything fits together cleanly, and there's no sign of the plastic gasket used to secure the crystal. Excellent. The lower part of the case can now be reattached with the 4 screws. If you excuse the fact that I removed the branding from the dial, that's a pretty cool looking watch right there. Let's get some silicone on the gasket. We do have a cutout for the winding stem. Put it on my watch throne. So there's a look at the back. The fact that the back prominently displays the Rado name is a little bit of a consolation to the fact that I removed the Rado name from the front of the watch. Here's a look at the flip side. Dang, that's shiny. I really love how this polished up. I have to go with the assumption that this is Rado's ceramic because it just looks fantastic after all these years. Just seeing how much abuse the back, the stainless steel took, and then comparing that now with the front, it really looks great. I mean, I'm impressed, and I don't know if this is the future of watch cases. But it certainly is a candidate, and it makes me think more strongly about getting one of the men's Diastars that is made in ceramic. So there you go, submitted for your viewing pleasure. This is Mike. The channel is Watch with Mike. Thanks so much for joining me on this little exploratory adventure. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and of course I look forward to hearing your comments in the space below. Be good, be well, be safe. I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.